A stray dog gave birth at a small town shelter, and everyone expected tiny, wriggling puppies. But when the vet lifted the first newborn, he screamed in shock, "That's not a puppy." What they saw that day stunned the entire shelter, and left the world searching for answers. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. It was a quiet spring morning at a small town animal shelter on the outskirts of Missouri. The staff had just finished their daily rounds when a call came in about a stray dog found wandering the streets, her belly swollen with the unmistakable signs of pregnancy. When the volunteers brought her in, she was trembling, her ribs faintly visible beneath her fur. Despite her fear, there was a gentleness in her eyes, as if she knew she had finally found safety. The shelter workers named her Daisy, a fitting name for a soul who had survived the harshness of the streets. Within days, Daisy began to settle in. She trusted the hands that fed her, wagging her tail softly whenever someone approached. But as her due date drew closer, a sense of anticipation filled the shelter. No one could have imagined the shock that awaited them. The morning Daisy went into labor, the entire shelter shifted into quiet urgency. Volunteers rushed to prepare the whelping area, lining it with clean blankets and setting out warm towels. The vet on duty, Dr. Collins, checked her vitals carefully, nodding to the team with reassurance. Everything seemed normal for now. Daisy panted heavily, her body tense as contractions began. She circled the nest anxiously, before finally settling down, her soft whimpers filling the room. The staff gathered nearby, their voices hushed, hearts pounding with anticipation. For many of them this was a rare and precious sight. A stray dog finally safe enough to bring life into the world. Minutes felt like hours. Every eye in the room stayed locked on Daisy as she strained and pushed, the miracle of birth unfolding before them. Smiles broke out on faces. Whispers of excitement spread. But little did they know the first arrival would change everything and leave them speechless. The room grew still as Daisy's body tightened once more. A soft cry escaped her throat, and moments later, the first newborn slipped into the world. The volunteers leaned in with smiles, expecting to see a tiny, wet puppy wriggling under the blankets. But almost immediately, the smiles began to fade. The newborn didn't look like the puppies they had seen before. Its skin was bare, pink, and wrinkled, almost hairless, under the bright shelter lights. Oversized ears folded against its head, and its eyes remained tightly shut. Whispers rippled across the room as volunteers exchanged uneasy glances, their excitement melting into confusion. Dr. Collins, who had been calmly monitoring Daisy, suddenly froze. His hand, gloved and steady until that moment, trembled as he lifted the tiny creature gently. His face went pale, eyes widening in disbelief. The silence in the room was broken by his voice, sharp, panicked, and echoing through the shelter. "That's not a puppy," he shouted. Gasps filled the air, volunteers stepping back in shock. Daisy licked her newborn tenderly, unaware of the chaos her firstborn had caused. For everyone else, the room had shifted from joy to dread in a matter of seconds. Dr. Collins held the strange newborn in his trembling hands, staring as though his mind refused to believe what his eyes saw. The volunteers leaned closer, their breasts caught in their throats. The tiny creature let out a faint squeak, fragile but alive, its bare skin glistening under the light. "That's not a puppy," he repeated louder this time, his voice cracking with urgency. Gasps rippled through the room. One volunteer dropped a towel. Another instinctively stepped back. Daisy whined softly, confused by the sudden tension, but still tried to nudge closer to her baby. The vet gently placed the newborn on a clean cloth, examining it closely. Oversized ears, hairless body, elongated limbs. Nothing matched the normal development of a dog. Murmurs filled the room. Volunteers whispering theories they couldn't understand. Fear mixed with curiosity. Each person questioning what they were looking at. Dr. Collins finally straightened his expression. Grim. This isn't normal. I've never seen anything like it. The words sent a chill down everyone's spine. A moment that should have been filled with joy had become a scene of mystery and panic, and no one in the shelter could look away. Dr. Collins adjusted his glasses, his hands steady now but his face pale. He leaned closer to the newborn, examining every detail as Daisy rested anxiously nearby. The volunteers gathered in a half circle, their eyes wide, waiting for answers. The room felt heavy, silence broken only by Daisy's soft breasts. He gently lifted the tiny creature, turning it carefully in his palms. Its limbs were longer than a normal puppy's, its skin oddly translucent in the light. The shape of its head seemed unusual, and even its cries sounded faintly different. Murmurs rose among the volunteers. Some whispered about mutations, others about deformities, but no one dared speak too loudly. Dr. Collins cleared his throat. This could be a genetic anomaly, he explained cautiously, or a rare hybrid, but I can't be certain yet. His words hung in the air like a storm cloud. The volunteers shifted uneasily, fear and curiosity twisting together. Whatever Daisy had given birth to, it was no ordinary puppy, and the mystery had only just begun. As the staff wrestled with questions, Daisy strained again. Another contraction rippled through her body, and the room held its breath. Moments later, a second newborn slid into the world. This time, a perfectly normal puppy, its tiny body covered in damp fur, squeaking loudly as it wriggled against the blankets. Relief swept through the volunteers. Dr. Collins quickly examined the pup, his shoulders easing when he found nothing unusual. "This one's healthy," he assured, but his eyes kept drifting back to the firstborn lying under the heat lamp. The contrast between the two was undeniable. One familiar, the other an unsolved riddle. One by one, Daisy delivered more puppies, each appearing normal, their cries filling the shelter with life. Yet, the presence of that single strange newborn cast a shadow over the joy. Whispers grew louder, theories spinning wildly among the staff. Was it a mutation, an experiment, or a sign of Something hidden in Daisy's past? By the time Daisy finished, the whelping box was alive with movement. Tiny fur balls nestled close to their mother. But in the corner, the unusual firstborn lay, apart, fragile, silent, and wrapped in mystery. Everyone knew the story was far from over. By the next morning, word of Daisy's unusual firstborn had spread beyond the shelter walls. Volunteers whispered to friends, photos leaked, and soon locals began arriving, curious to see the puppy that wasn't a puppy. Within hours, the quiet shelter became the center of buzzing attention. Reporters showed up with cameras asking endless questions the staff couldn't answer. Some claimed it was a genetic experiment gone wrong, while others spun wild stories of crossbreeding with wild animals. A few even muttered superstitions, calling it an omen or a creature that shouldn't exist. The air grew thick with rumors and fear. Dr. Collins tried to calm the chaos, insisting on patience. "We need science, not speculation," he told the crowd, though his own eyes betrayed his unease. Daisy, oblivious to the commotion, continued nursing her litter with quiet devotion. The strange newborn nestled beside its siblings, fragile yet alive, unaware it had become the center of a storm. With the shelter overwhelmed by rumors, Dr. Collins decided there was only one way to end the speculation: science. He arranged for DNA tests on the unusual newborn, samples carefully taken while Daisy rested protectively nearby. The days that followed were long and tense, each hour stretching with uncertainty. When the results finally arrived, the room grew silent as Dr. Collins opened the report. His eyes scanned the lines before a breath of relief escaped him. "It's a puppy," he announced, pausing as disbelief rippled through the crowd, "but with a rare congenital condition that altered its appearance." He explained how genetic mutations sometimes caused extreme physical differences, though the newborn was still very much a dog. Gasps of shock gave way to murmurs of wonder. The mystery was solved. Not an omen, not a hybrid, but a fragile life that had defied the odds. The shelter erupted in relief and awe, their fear replaced with hope. If you were moved by this incredible story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.